What is happening, people? Welcome back to the channel. KG is back with some more transfer talk. This time, it's not even a player that we own, but it was a player that was on loan to us last season. And I know a lot of the fan base would love to have him back, but got to say at this point in time, is it looking likely? It's up in the air, people. It's up in the air. Before I get into it, though, please like the video. Algorithm just helps the channel out. Drop your comments and thoughts below. And of course, subscribe to the channel. Thank you to all existing members. And if you want to become a member of the channel, which just helps me out, helps the channel out, the link is in the description. So we're talking today about a stalwart for us from last season, and that is Joe Roden. Joe Roden here, who was magnificent for us last season. Absolutely brilliant. And I need to say that from the top because I'm going to make some suggestions here, which kind of makes it sound like I'm going to move on. But I need to make clear the reason why we might have to move on from Joe Roden is because he was that good for us last year and he's earned the opportunity to play at a higher level. And that's the price of coming with not getting promoted. That's the price that we have to pay. You know, if we're talking all things equal and we went up this season, we're probably taking Joe Roden with us. I think it would only be us and Tottenham talking it out and saying what's the best deal that we can make to go forward. And I think Joe Roden would be more than happy to stay at Ellen Road. But when you have had a good season like he has had, there are going to be options, people. And we've seen that already. And I'm going to get into it in a bit with the article. Alistair Gold was talking about him on his podcast and talking about another destination. We've already heard that Fenerbahce, like Joe Roden, Jose Mourinho wants him there. And he's earned that right. And I need to say that just to make my point clear from the start, he was absolutely brilliant for us. If he played in 43 games for us last season, he probably had average maybe 4 of them, which is a pretty good batting average for a footballer. And even then, when he was inconsistent, it wasn't the end of the world. He still didn't look out of place. And he was a big leader for us at the back when he was a big organizer at the back, just, you know, threw his body into everything. And even when you thought he was going off injured, he would come back in the next game. You know what I mean? He was just made of strong stuff. As Daniel Fark would say, that well steel. But it looks like that well steel may not be coming back as we have big competition for him, people. So let's get into the article. Wales Online have published this today, but it was, you know, from Alistair Gold. And look, we'll get into it now. Leeds United are keen on keeping Joe Roden at Ellen Road this summer, but could well face competition from Premier League new boys Ipswich Town. And that's according to their colleagues at Football London, who claim Town boss Kieran McKenna is a big fan of the Welsh international, who enjoyed a largely successful spell in West Yorkshire last season. So there, you know, Kieran McKenna, Ipswich Town boss, and that move kind of makes sense. We'll get into that in just a minute. Let's carry on. Let's carry on down. Rodon played in all but 3 championship games for Leeds as Danny Farker's men made their way to the playoff final at the end of last month. Let's get through these ads. However, their defeat to Russell Martin Southampton at Wembley has placed the future of several stars in doubt, with Rodon one of those currently facing an uncertain future, despite parent club Tottenham extending his contract by further 12 months. After his exploits last term, Leeds would clearly love to keep him on board, but they are unlikely to be the only ones interested in making a move. Indeed, former boss Jose Mourinho has already been tipped to show an interest following his move to Fenerbahce. According to Football London journalist Alistair Gold, who spoke on the Golden Guest Tottenham YouTube channel, Ipswich, almost in a Bielsa there, Ipswich may also be keeping a close eye on Rodon's situation. And Alistair followed up, Joe will be heading off this summer. We will wait to see where he's going. I'm intrigued to see whether he ends up somewhere like Ipswich, because I know Kieran McKenna is a big fan of him. I wonder whether that will be an option for him. So there it is, you know, and it just shows you how much competition there is for him. And that, and again, goes to a long thing, what I've always said, when you do well at Leeds United, the world watches, and it's never going to change, people. The club is too huge to just be, you can go under the radar here. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Just look through history. Look through the you know, even the last 20 years. Look at all the players that have even been half decent and the clubs that they get linked to. It always happens here. But in this with Joe Roden, what the question I want to pose to you guys is, how far do we go with this? Because already we're at a disadvantage with Ipswich in 2 areas. One, we're not playing Premier League football. There's the main one. 2, financially. Now, Daniel Levy could go to Ipswich and say, look, you want him? We'll make a deal. Here's, you know, 13 million, 12, 13 million. And then if you survive, we want another 3 million in add-ons. So let's go 12 million and then 3 million add-ons, which makes it a 15 million pound deal. And listen, Ipswich will probably go, ooh, that's a lot for someone with a year left. But if they survive and they have to pay 3 million, promise you, Ipswich aren't crying. You know, they will happily pay that 3 million, say thank you very much, because he would have helped them stay up in the Premier League. Where it's different for us is a 12 million fee, just straight up. And you look at what we've been linked with so far, and then we even go to the winger that's going to be, you know, that's been quoted at 3.5 million to replace Somerville. That kind of just shows you, are we going to be in this kind of battle, a transfer battle where we're having to shell out 12 million? Now, look, I think that there's a reality where we could pay a fee and then another fee upon promotion. I do believe that, but I think Tottenham are looking for something a little more guaranteed, and I don't think that they'd accept a 12 million deal, like say you pay 6 million now, 6 million pound promotion. I think the whole point of them extending that contract and making sure is that they got their money. And I think it makes sense to sell to a Premier League team who can say, look, we want 12 million, and upon survival or whatever, you know, targets you hit, we get a further payment to round it up to 15, let's say. And that's where I just think, and I want to get your thoughts on this. How far do you go with trying to get Joe Roden back to the club? Because, like I say, make it clear he was brilliant for us, but I do believe that there's other options out there. And the one I know I've mentioned him before, but it just makes so much sense to me in that Omobama Delhi is just there. I don't think he's going to get games at Forest. He signed for him for 11 million last year, and I think there's a way of doing a deal with Forest. You know, Forest do need to sell as well. You know, they need to keep up with their PSR obligations, and I think there's a deal to be done. And whether that's on loan with view to a permanent move upon promotion, which I think would suit the 49ers, or whether it's just a straight up loan like Joe Roden, I feel like there's a deal to be done. But I also say this as well, much like Gruev, who cost 5 million from the Bundesliga. I think Daniel Farke will have options in the Bundesliga and other leagues. I think 49ers, Red Bull, Daniel Farke, their scouting network is much wider than ours. So they will have other players in mind that could possibly come in and do as well as Joe Roden. The one thing I will say that Joe Roden handled very well, which we all know is what few players do struggle with, is the atmosphere, the pressure. He took it on board and ran with it. He was absolutely brilliant with the mental aspect, and that is a big part of playing for Leeds United. So they need to get that right again. But I'm just saying, I feel like there's other deals out there if Joe Roden doesn't come to fruition. And listen, I wish him luck. You know, he's earned the right to play at the Premier League level after the season he's had. You know, I say good luck to him. But then what do Leeds United do next? Where do we go next? And I want to know from you guys, how far do you go in this bidding war? What's the max you're paying for Joe Roden? And I include add-ons in there upon promotion or however else you would structure the deal. So there we are. Joe Roden news, Joe Roden update. And that is it, people. Get your thoughts in the comments below. Like the video too. And I'll see you in the next video, people. Peace out.